Thank you, Madam President. Since taking office just over a month ago, Donald Trump has rapidly obliterated America's standing as the leader of the free world. Decades of hard work, extraordinary sacrifice, and painstaking bipartisan diplomacy to lead our allies and partners against the forces of autocracy and repression have been crushed. And America's reputation as the indispensable nation is in tatters. And it started with the illegal dismantling of the United States Agency for International Development and continued with the unlawful elimination of virtually all foreign assistance and culminated this last weekend, Friday, with the Oval Office meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky last week. Trump has undermined American values and interests at every turn. This is not a doctrine that somehow puts America first. Past presidents of both parties in different words and through different means have aggressively pursued American interests. And I have to say, on the specific question of how USAID operates with the State Department, you hear secretaries of state of both parties saying, hey, it would be great if USAID and the State Department were better aligned. And so I'm the top Democrat on the SFOPS committee, which is the funding committee for foreign aid. And I sat down with the chairman, Lindsey Graham, and I said, I think there's some opportunity to do some bipartisan work here in reforming the foreign aid enterprise. We had a really constructive conversation. That was 2 days before all hell broke loose at USAID. All hell broke loose at USAID. Trump froze all foreign assistance and then moved to illegally shutter USAID, which is responsible for implementing most of our foreign aid. None of it was about achieving efficiency or rooting out waste. It was about Trump trying to wish away whatever parts of the federal government he doesn't like in violation of the law, in violation of the Foreign Assistance Act, in violation of the Constitution, in violation of the Prompt Payments Act, in violation of every appropriations bill that we've ever passed as it relates to USAID since the original Foreign Assistance Act. Like, this is not actually a close call. You can hate USAID. I don't. I think it's great. Or you can think it needs reform. I also think it needs reform. But the way to enact a law is to enact a law. The way to enact a law is not to just break the law and see if a judge will impose parameters on you. Trump literally fired the people whose job it is to identify and combat waste. That is not the kind of thing that you would do if you were interested in combating waste. There was a person at USAID who basically wrote a bunch of factual memorandums to senior staffers saying, this is the consequences of what you're doing. And among other things, it said specifically, hey, you might have a waiver program in place to allow life-saving aid to continue, but you send everybody home and lock them out of their email. They sent everybody home and locked them out of their email, and then we're to believe that this waiver process is somehow going to push through the billions of dollars for life-saving aid that are needed and expected. And so what is happening? And these big providers, I won't even name them because they're so terrified. Good organizations, no political valence. If they have any political inclination, they tend to be Christian organizations doing literally God's work all across the planet. They are laying off people. They are literally closing up tents. People are flying home back to the continental United States or Hawaii or Alaska, wherever they live, and just saying, we're out of here now. So babies are getting HIV/AIDS from their moms now because the PEPFAR funding is frozen. And don't let anybody tell you that PEPFAR is unfrozen. Everything is frozen. Why? Because, and I might be getting this number slightly wrong, but as I recall it, there's about 70 people left. And this is a tens of billions of dollars enterprise. So how the hell are you going to consider a waiver for 5,800 individual programs when you have 70 human beings, not all of them in this particular bureau, to try to process the waivers? And so what I've been told is, hey, if there's anything that's especially important to you, sir, let me know. And I'm thinking, I'm not here to petition the king for mercy. The way this works is everybody operates within the law. We lost the election. Democrats lost the election. We lost the House, we lost the Senate, and we lost the presidency, and we lost it all fair and square. But now it's on Republicans to operate fair and square. And what's happening at USAID, I understand this is not the most compelling issue for people back home in Hawaii, or people back home in Alabama, or people back home in Illinois, or anywhere. It is not like most people's burning desire, but people do understand following the law or not following the law. And what is happening right now is plainly unlawful. They are violating multiple statutes. And the consequences are not some like arcane discussion about legal principles or the rule of law. Millions of people will die. I'm still new enough to the Senate. I'm not that new to the Senate, but I'm still new enough to the Senate where I don't say anything I don't mean to say on the floor. And so I want anybody who is listening to understand, if we don't resolve this, millions of people will die. Millions of people will die because of an illegal decision made by this administration. And so we all have to decide, are we going to stand up for some basic American values? What are those American values? We are the good guys. When people see that USAID logo, they should say, awesome, the Americans are here. When they see that food grown in Georgia, processed in the mid-Atlantic states, grown in Kansas and other places, when they see that food arriving to prevent malnourished kids from going in the wrong direction, they should say, I am so thankful that America exists, not just as a country, but as an idea. We are the good guys. And part of being the good guys is even if you hate something, if it's a law, it's a law. There are a lot of laws on the books that I hate. Global gag rule, first one that comes to mind, but there are probably a dozen more I could come up with. It literally never occurred to me to ask Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Donald Trump or anyone else to violate the statute and see what the judge says. And so we, as the Article I branch, and we as patriots, have to wrap our arms around this problem, get the aid enterprise back up and running for humanitarian reasons, for geopolitical reasons, for legal reasons, for moral reasons, and for reasons related to what we are here to do, which is we are here, if this enterprise needs to be reformed, count me in. But this is a law-making process, not a law-breaking process. I yield the floor.